Now the Pixel 7 is a very special phone because it's cheap and it's very good. But the real question is, has it aged well? Now, while I was using my Pixel 7, I undoubtedly called it the compact king. It has a great software, a good camera system, good display, okay battery life, and most importantly, it has a great price when matched up against competitors. But my only concern with the Pixel 7 grew immensely once the Pixel 7a came out, because in retrospect, the Pixel A series was always super close to the regular Pixel whenever it came to the most important factors in a smartphone. In the past, the only difference was the refresh rate and a few other capabilities, but with the 7a, there's an extremely slim difference, making Google their own worst competitors. And even though the 7a has come out and swayed my decision on who's really the compact king, I still wanted to share my experience with the Pixel 7 and show why it's still a top tier phone. Now, one of the most important pieces of hardware that you can have on your smartphone is battery, and that's where the Pixel 7 doesn't disappoint. Now, over the past few weeks, I've tested how the Pixel 7 lasts with medium to high usage. I was averaging over 5 hours of on-screen time, and no matter how long or short I use my phone, there was only 3 times where I had to use power saving mode. The Pixel 7 supports 20-watt charging, which I had no problems with. It charges from 0 to 100 in about an hour and a half. The battery was able to last me all day, and I mostly charge my phone at night, so it really didn't matter to me. I would wake up in the morning, take my phone off the charger, use GPS to go to work, use my 7 moderately, and put it back on the charger before bed, so again, I had no problems. Also, I was never the type of person to cut any corners to save battery. If I'm spending a good amount of money on a phone, I'm using it to the max. So during my time of using the Pixel 7, I had 5G on, my brightness on manual, and always medium to high with always on display on. I'm using every power heavy app as much as I can, and again, I only use power saving mode 3 times, meaning that the Pixel 7 is pretty reliable when it comes to battery. Now, something else that's extremely important when it comes to using your phone on a day-to-day basis is design and build quality. And in my eyes, this is very true. You want a phone that is not only comfortable to hold, but is also very minimal in size and portability, and the Pixel 7 again did not disappoint. The Pixel 7 has this very boxy yet rounded frame that surprisingly complements my hand very well. I'm holding my phone for hours on a day-to-day basis, so it really helps to have a phone that's easy to handle. And even when this phone does have curves, they come at a minimum. I love how the 7 had a flat display, which makes it much easier to manage for screen protectors, and is just an overall nice feel. The 7 also had a pretty nice weight to it. It weighs 197 grams, which is a little bit lighter than my 7 Pro. At first, I really couldn't feel the difference between the two, but as I started using them more, I prefer holding my Pixel 7 a little bit more. But besides the nice size and sharp curves, the Pixel 7 has really mastered that Google clean cut type of style. The buttons and ports were in the right places. The phone was sharp enough to add to the experience, and it's so beautiful that you can use it without a case. But the Pixel gets hella scratches, so be careful. Now, looking at display, the Pixel 7 has a 6.1 inch OLED display that is still my favorite on any phone in this price range. I loved how it had the tiny hole punch camera to really maximize the screen. Also, I use swipe gestures, so I basically have full screen to fill in whatever I'm doing, whether it's watching a movie, playing a game, or just doing simple things like scrolling through my Twitter timeline. The Pixel 7 has Gorilla Glass Victus on the back and on the display, so if you're bold enough to use your phone without a case, the Pixel 7 will survive a few drops before you notice any damage. Now, durability isn't the only thing that's great about the Pixel 7's display. It's very punchy, sharp, and premium when compared to the likes of the Galaxy S23 and S23 Plus. The brightness was pretty much the same as the 7a with 580 nits, and that was something that I really didn't like about my Pixel 7 since I could barely see my phone on a sunny day. Now, arguably, my favorite thing about the display is the 90Hz refresh rate, mixed in with the smooth animations and stock Android. Watching movies and content on this phone is amazing. Dual speakers creates that immersive experience when it comes to sound, and the speakers are extremely loud, so you can watch any movie on the go. And finally, let's just say that when it comes to unlocking your phone, the Pixel 7 has an array of great options. The fingerprint sensor was very sharp and worked very well whether I put lotion on or got my hands dirty, and the facial recognition was much better after the updates, but I still prefer to use my fingerprint. And now, before I discuss camera, I want to go over some minor problems that I had to deal with in my 7 months of using my Pixel 7. Now, the first problem that I had was during March. Once or twice a week, I will be using my phone and it will automatically freeze on me and I will have to restart it. Now, for me, this hasn't happened in the month of April or May, but I still want to give you guys a heads up because there are people still experiencing these problems. Now, the next problem that I had to deal with was that the speakers were pretty weak. Like whenever I try to show something to my homies at work and everyone else is talking, I could barely hear anything. And now the last problem that I dealt with on the Pixel 7 is not specifically about this phone, but it's all Android phones as a whole. And that's Android Auto. Now, Android Auto is a serious problem for me because whenever I'm doing something on GPS, it won't let me type on my phone even when my car is parked. The OS looks extremely outdated and it's such a mess that I usually don't even touch it. I just use it for GPS and I just change music on my phone. Now, moving on to camera, the Pixel 7 is a beast on the spec sheet. 50 megapixel main with a 12 megapixel ultra wide, and a 10 megapixel selfie camera that's not perfect but can give you some really great shots. Now something that I realized is that whenever I'm taking a photo outside, the contrast is pretty good but not too much. It still has a ton of realism and it looks really good. The Pixel 7 also has pretty good zoom. The quality goes down a little bit more once you zoom in, but I think it's still very sharp. Ultra wide pictures are a little bit more wide, but most phones at this price are. And the only problem that I have with it is that after you max it, it doesn't really look that good. But it can be useful since everything is very far away and you need to see. Selfies were pretty great, especially for the price range. The sharpening wasn't too much for me and it handles my skin tone very well like on any other Pixel. So I was very impressed with how it held up. And now videos on the Pixel 7 are very sharp as well. They improved slightly since last year. Like for instance, you can shoot up to 4K at 60 frames per second, even though this phone is pretty cheap. It looks really good, and again, I shoot at 4K at 30 frames per second since it takes up less space. The stabilization was solid, pans were smooth along with brightness and contrast, and the sharpening is still at its peak. And alright you guys, that's it for my review on the Pixel 7. And I feel like I've pretty much said everything I feel about it. It's a really great phone that is totally worth buying. It's the true definition of a mid-range, and even though the 7a has come out, I'm completely happy with my purchase, and I'm very excited to see where Google will take the regular Pixel 7 series. And let me know down in the comments, do you guys think that the Pixel 7a is close to beating out the Pixel 7? Let me know. And again, I want to thank you guys for watching today's video, and I'm going to see you guys in the next one. Peace.